Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, brothers and sisters. So this morning I'll continue to talk on the striking finding after reading the Quran from page 1 to 70. But this morning I'd like to continue of talking on the topic of guided and the unguided. In particular, I was talking on these two group of people, the Wahabi and the Syiah. I like to make my story complete on the debate or the Syiah scholar requesting a debate with a Sunni scholar. The story I told you was the Sunni scholar hold a book which was the Quran and asked the Syiah scholar, do you believe this? Do you believe the Quran? And the Syiah scholar answered, I don't believe it. So it became an evidence that the Syiah people are not believers, but they claim they are Muslims but not believers. So in this case they fall into a category which is termed in the Quran as munafikin, and we translated it as pretender. Okay, why is Quran is important in the debate? After knowing the Syiah scholar did not believe in the Quran, the Sunni scholar refused to have a debate with him. He gave the reason, in a debate they must have a reference to say who is right, and have to refer to a reference which was Quran as the best reference. Because if you don't believe the Quran, then what's the point of having a debate? It will be more like shouting contest rather than a debate if it is without a reference. So seeing no point to have a debate, because the Syiah scholar had said he didn't believe in the Quran, then the debate could not go on, or he had made a wise decision not to have a debate, because it will be a useless debate. without having a reference. So that is the reason why the Sunni scholar asked him whether he believed the Quran. With the answer no, then it becomes the evidence to us that the Syiah people are the munafiqin, or the pretenders. And then what about Wahabi people? Okay, let me talk about Salafi. These Wahabi people, they change their name to claim they are Salafi. Now, I got to understand the meaning of Salafi. Actually, Salafi term is meant by the Muslim during the time of the Prophet, the Muslim, then the Muslim of the second generation after the Prophet, and the third generation after the Prophet is known as Sahaba and the Tabi'in. And Prophet has said the best Muslims are in these three generations. Yes, it can be understood because they had seen the Prophet and they are close to the Prophet, and they have the advantage over the Muslim of the later generation. So this Salafi, why they are the best Muslim? Because we have the assurance that what they are doing and their belief is correct. And the people who follow this first generation, second generation and third generation Muslims will also get a little of this Salafi doing and teaching. Actually, the best learned Muslim are the learned Muslim of the earlier generation. But you see, this Wahabi is only the teaching that appeared 200 years ago. So it has nothing to do with the people we can call Salafi, because only 200 years ago, then you can see how many years pass. So it is more than 1,000 years pass during the time of the birth of the Prophet and the revelation of Islam, which was 1,400 years ago, and this Wahabi teaching was only 200 years ago. So the gap is more than 1,000 years. So calling themselves Salafi is not appropriate at all. In other words, they are not Salafi. Nothing like Salafi, but they claim they are. So this is like cheating the people who are easily cheated. But we are well aware now that they are not Salafi, but they want to claim to have good name, so they call themselves Salafi, which is trying to hide the real teaching, which is nothing to do with original Islamic teaching. So in other words, they are just deviationists. And I like to tell you that there had been a meeting in our time, the meeting of world Muslim scholars in Russia, in a place called Chechnya. So this body of Muslim scholars had decided that the Syiah and the Wahabi, though they claim they are Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the body of Muslim scholars rejected their claim, and they are not included in the cloud of Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So it's clear that they are what the Prophet was saying. In the future, Islam will be branched into 72 branches. All will go to hell except one, Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So that doesn't include the Syiah and the Wahabi. I think it's very important to note that so we already see that from the evidence of the story, Syiah people are not believers, and they can be called munafikin. So by way of the body of Islamic scholars rejecting the Wahhabi teaching, then they claim they are Muslim. The rejection because they don't believe as the Muslim should believe. So we can also say they are in the category of munafikin. They are pretenders. So actually the munafikin is dangerous to Islam because of the doing of the Prophet. Prophet had chased them out or asked them to get out of the mosque. This munafikin even build a mosque, and then there's a revelation in the Quran asking Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers, the Muslim, not to go and pray in the mosque that was built by munafikin or the pretenders. Even ask the Muslim to pray instead in the mosque of Kuba. Mosque of Kuba is one of the first mosques built by the Muslim. There is more barakah praying in the mosque built by Muslim that was sincere. So Muslim that are sincere in worshipping Allah, so then the munafikin or the pretenders are not considered as people who are sincere in worshipping Allah. Then we go back to the conversation when Satan or Iblis was saying, I will drag mankind to hell. I will drag the mankind to go against worshipping Allah and drag them to hell. Then Allah said, you will not be able to do that on the people who are sincere in worshipping Allah. So these Wahhabis and the Syiah are the people already owned by Satan or Iblis. So we should do our best to avoid these people and to get involved or get dragged to this party. Recently I heard Muslim scholar was saying these Wahhabi uh, the group of Satan. So we take the lesson from that and avoid them and avoid the temptation. Of course, this group are sponsored by people who had the same thinking like what is mentioned in the Quran, saying this group of people is trying to drag a Muslim from believing to disbelieving. So there was also a revelation that these people would spend the money, meaning that you will see this Wahabi has the sponsorship. And I got to know in the country where number of Wahhabis is growing, these Wahhabis even build schools. And their schools look like more expensive than the common school. So why the Wahhabi school look expensive? So it must be to do with the sponsorship, which may not be from the country. So the sponsorship could only come from outside the country. So I told you about the story of the lady being recruited to destroy Islam, and he was sponsored. So this kind of thing is happening. So we just have to be aware of what have been revealed in the Quran is really happening. Thank you very much for listening.